All right, guys. So, Anthill 300 here. Sorry it's so dark. I I hope to actually have some kind of light for you guys soon. Um, one little quick thing I could possibly do. I'm sorry I just got going, but I'll be right back. Didn't realize that was that kind of light. Now, one more second, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. Um, just want to try to get you guys some actual light to see me. Um, so one of the things that I first want to talk about is, I know I've said it before in like past couple videos of mine. Me and my brother, we opened up this whole thing for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. We started watching it on Peacock. We were just sitting here in the same room that I'm sitting in now when I first got introduced to this. Just recently, as of lately, as the time has gone on to have Blood and Honey 2, um, we we learned that Pooh and Piglet are obviously evil. We never got to meet Tigger, Owl, Rabbit. We know what happened to Eeyore. Eeyore was eaten by the crew as of the first one. For number two, we actually get introduced to Tigger and Owl. We still haven't been introduced to Rabbit, though. But when I was watching number two, in the very beginning, they have like a little thing that they talk about, you know, the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honeys. They talk about making a third one. So I'm wondering if it won't be on the third one that we're going to actually get introduced to Rabbit. With that also being said, though, like I said, that the co-creators, the co-director, and the director, they made a like little short film, quote unquote, that went before like the movie started, and they bring up a really cool little deal. So what I'm going to bring up to you guys is called the Pooniverse. Now I'm not going to jump ahead and talk about the Pooniverse quite yet, but just know that there is a lot more of these movies coming your way and coming to the theater soon. Um, one of those movies, I got to actually have a small clip that I got to watch. I got to watch a small clip of it in the theaters last night as I was watching Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. Um, and I'll touch base on that as well. One of the things, though, that I remember from like the first part, Blood and Honey, to the second part, Blood and Honey 2, is the costumes. The costumes have definitely changed already. I will let you guys know that. The costumes have already changed. As far like if you're one of the watchers that watched the very first one before you were like, "Oh my gosh, let's go watch number 2 just so that I fit in." If you watched the first one, you will 100% agree with me that when you looked at the old mask for Pooh, um I know I was trying to do something else here to have some things running in line for you. But I'm going to look up something real quick. Oh, and I forgot about Kanga too. They still haven't introduced Kanga as well. Okay. So one of the first things I want to show just real quick is you see this mask? I have my cursor set shut off. This mask is the very first mask for Winnie the Pooh in Blood and Honey. So with that being said, like they didn't really have a budget. It literally looked like a man. Like if I'll go back to that little page here real quick. But even if you look at the picture that's like the second one down from the first top picture next to the mask, if you look at the second picture, if you guys can get yourself a close up of it, um let's see if I can't. Kind of pixelated, but you can definitely tell with the first movie, with just this scene, just this little picture right here, you can tell that it is just a man in a mask. That is it. Where if we go like this, why won't it let me see the actual mask? Like, look at that. There's no fear to it. There's no, you know, um, I can't seem to find a picture on it. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is like, you can actually see the fur. You can see everything now on Pooh's costume. And then as far as Tigger and Owl go, mwah, like they couldn't have done a better job depicting what Owl would actually look like as a humanoid. Um, they did an excellent job as far as depicting what Tigger would look like as a humanoid. All right. And at this point, too, I'm also going to touch base on what actually happens in number two. I'm going to guess from at this point, if you're a true fan, you're still watching this. If you're not, you probably moved on. But one of the things um, that I thought was actually really crazy, and I'll see if I can't find a scene on it for us, is the actual backstory to Pooh. There was a crazy twist about halfway through number two that I wasn't ready for. I wasn't prepared for it. But we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to show a couple little things here. Stay with me. This little clip here is going to give you an introduction to Owl. I was trying to give enough time for people that don't want this to be spoiled. But let's check this out.
They're close. Closer than they've ever been. Pooh existence. There's a plague. There's horrors of the 100-acre wood. An evil which they created. They will never cease their hunt for us. We trusted Christopher. You can never trust them ever again.
Okay, so let me rewind that just a little bit. I don't know how well you guys can see him. Oops. Oops. This is Piglet. And if you guys watched the first one, you guys would all know that it looked like Piglet was actually put out of his misery. The girls came down on his head with a sledgehammer. And it was a pretty epic scene. And when you watched that sledgehammer get dropped like that and you heard the bones crunch, like me and my brother, when we first watched that, right, we didn't think he'd be alive. But as you can see, Piglet's right here. He's right here and alive. Let's finish this little.
It's time to decide.
And there you go. I guess I already finished it for you guys without realizing it. So that was. I wanted to show that to you just so that you guys could see the close up that I was trying to talk about with Pooh's face. So that you guys could actually see Owl as well. And then I want to show you guys this as well. This is introducing us to Tigger. Tigger is over here on the side of the screen. Uh, he's on the right side.
Help, Ava. You gonna help Ava? Better watch where you go, bitch.
So I wanted to show that because it allowed you to actually see Tigger up close. It allowed you to actually hear Tigger. One of the things as well that me and my brother were impressed about with the show, with the movie, is the characters of the 100-Acre Woods actually have lines. As you notice, Tigger was actually talking there. Owl, in the last little scene that I showed you, he was talking as well, along with Piglet. Who, he still, you know, he says some words. Doesn't say a lot. One thing I will say, though, too, if you are an older generation, hence like myself, to like my mom, to even my buddy Mike that's out in my living room, where you when you grew up and you were growing up in like the 80s, the 90s, you know, you got to watch Winnie the Pooh, the animated series on Disney. One of the things I can say, I'm not going to say the words because I don't want to actually ruin that, is so some of the catchphrases from your childhood, some of the catchphrases that they say constantly in like the animated series. Some of those catchphrases actually make their way into Blood and Honey 2, and it is epic. It is great. Um, one of the things also for kill count. So I brought up a video. Looks like it's about 2 minutes long, claiming all deaths in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. That's for the first one. So I'm gonna switch it back over to the page here. Full screen it. Let's go ahead and watch this and watch how many kills we have in number one.
And thus, Eeyore was no more.
So Eeyore, the one girl, that girl, she got ran over, sledgehammered to the face.
This is what you did to Zoe.
See, there was the death for Piglet. That's 7. That was a brutal scene. There's 8. There's 9. There's 10, 11. Oh, this the part was nuts. He controls the bees. That's 12, 13. 14. The deaths is 14, human deaths is 12, non-human deaths is 2. Sorry guys, wasn't trying to have that happen either. Um says Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 trailer kill count. Let's just watch it real quick, guys. Alright, so first things first, guys. I'm going to have to give recognition to somebody for this one. I'm trying really hard here to actually see a kill count. Winnie. the two blood and honey to kill. No. All right, so I'm not really finding much on it yet. I don't. I probably know why. It just dropped. Um. So one thing that I'm gonna try to do for myself is I'm gonna try to get my hands on the movie again and watch the movie. But as far as like the kill count actually goes, so we had what 14 in the first one, two non-human because of Pooh and Eeyore, or Piglet and Eeyore, and then 12 human kills. As far as number two goes, I will tell you this: the kill count goes way above 14. It goes way above that. As far as the non-creature kills go, you get a couple. Um, Human kills though, you get a lot. So one of the reasons I say that is because one of the scenes in the Blood and Honey 2, it depicts a rave, and I've never seen a list for the end credits be so long and just list raver. And that scene is brutal. It is epic. It is something that you're definitely gonna watch as far as the Winnie the Pooh cult classic here is going to possibly go. And I'm already calling it a cult classic just for the simple fact of it goes back to a lot of people's childhoods. And Wes and the guy that plays Robin, Christopher Robin, that they're opening up a whole new ball game when it comes to Winnie the Pooh. Um, I will try though to get another video out here soon, actually giving you guys the death counts. Um, and then spoiler alert. So one of the things that I want to actually talk about with the movie too. Um, so in number one, you get a little bit of a background on who Christopher Robin is. In number one, you also get to watch Christopher Robin's fiance get murdered by Piglet. She was technically I'd say the first human death in Blood and Honey. Um, Number two, if I remember correctly, it takes place like a year and a half later after number one actually happened. Um, People label Christopher Robin. People don't believe Christopher Robin. Like I said, spoiler alerts. And another nice little thing too that number two did is they actually brought the first one into play. They bring the first movie into the second movie. There's actually a scene where Christopher Robin's quote unquote not girlfriend is babysitting a kid named Freddy. Freddy is a horror film fanatic. He's got, like the claws like Freddy Krueger. He's wearing like a Jason Voorhees mask. The kid is into horror. Well, Christopher Robin's quote unquote not girlfriend is babysitting this kid. This kid is actually in like the den living room watching TV when she comes walking in, and he's watching the movie, the first one, on the TV, and he says something to her along the lines of, "Didn't they make this movie about your boyfriend?" And this is why I say quote unquote not girlfriend slash girlfriend. Is because when he says that to her, she goes, "Okay, first off, he's not my boyfriend. Second off, yes, they made this movie about him, but none of this is true." Because what they were trying to depict with the movie is Christopher Robin is Winnie the Pooh. He is the one that is getting dressed up in the costumes and murdering these innocent people of Ashdown. And they're near the 100 Acre Woods. Uh, as the movie progresses, you end up having hunters that were attacked. One of the hunters actually talks to Christopher Robin and tells him, like, "Sorry, I didn't believe you. That they're real." Um, a lot of people actually apologize to Christopher Robin throughout number two, believe it or not. Um, again, like I said, I'm not trying to spoil it too much. That's why I put on the title here, spoiler alerts. But I'm gonna see if I can't find it real quick. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it yet again, which is really rough on me because I want to show it to you guys really, really bad. But it is kind of a main plot twist. So, if you're not into your storyline being ruined, I would actually pause my video and wait for me to get over this, or mute this video and wait for me to get over this, because I do want to touch base on it, and it's a really cool, sad story, but it was a really cool twist as far as the Blood and Honey series goes. So, one of the things after this all happens to Christopher Robin in the very first one, he's obviously tormented, he's obviously tortured, he's obviously suffering from some kind of a PTSD from having this experience with his old friends. Friends that he thought would never be able to do something like this. So he Christopher Robin ends up in therapy. He's going to therapy trying to figure out everything that's going on in his life and trying to figure out exactly what happened in his past that he's trying to suppress so bad. Well, the therapist actually breaks through to him with him on one of the subjects about his childhood. And in his childhood, he has an older brother named Billy. Billy and him were out playing. I think it might have been like Christopher's birthday. Something was going on at the Robbins house there in Ashdown. Um, Needless to say, though, as Christopher Robin is unlocking this memory, it's blurred. He can't see exactly who is in the front seat of this truck, but he remembers the door being closed shut. Billy was inside of the van, and that was the last he ever seen of his older brother. That was the last he ever seen of him. Well, after he unlocks this memory with his therapist, he actually sees the guy coming out of like an arcade, some kind of a store. And he follows him. And he follows him all the way back to his house. And he breaks into the dude's house. He's very confrontational. And he tells him, like, I know it was you. What did you do with my brother? What did you do with my brother all those years ago? So this is where the storyline actually gets crazy and twists. So that guy was hired by a doctor who was messing around with animal and human genetics. And the guy that he was confronting about taking his brother away from him and never being able to see his brother ever again. Again, if you guys don't want spoilers, I'd pause it, mute it, whatever you have to do to not hear this, because this is a main plot twist. Um, so the guy admits to Christopher Robin though that he did do that. He did take kids. He took like 6 or 7 of them to this doctor who was messing around with animal and human genetics. And I can't remember what the doctor's name was right off the top of my head. I just watched it last night. It was the debut. Um, but anyways, this doctor has recordings stating that his experiments are going okay, but he also has to put an end to his experiments because his experiments could actually hurt him one day. So he took them out to the 100-acre woods, killed them, and buried them, only for those kids to end up regenerating, digging themselves out of their graves, and living in the 100-acre woods. And this is where it gets really, really, really twisted on Christopher Robin. Um, as far as that goes, Christopher, again, if you don't want spoilers, if you don't want me to ruin this for you, I would pause this, mute it, whatever you have to do to not hear this exact part. But one of the things after that man was talking to Christopher Robin, I was sitting with my brother at the movie theaters, and I looked at my brother and I said, Bro, I think Winnie is Christopher's brother. And believe it or not, I was correct. Again, if you guys weren't looking for spoilers, just pause this and do what you got to do to not hear this. But so at the very end of the movie, um, Christopher Robin is getting attacked by Pooh Bear again, and they go to the gravesite of Pooh, Eeyore, Rabbit, Owl, Tigger, and you can see that Winnie the Pooh actually has a moment in his head because he recognizes that those were the graves that they all dug out of. And that's when Christopher Robin says his brother's name. And Pooh's not even looking at Christopher Robin right now. But Christopher Robin says Pooh's name. He says his brother's name. And that's when Pooh looks back at him. And then something else happens. But I'm not going to talk about that. I already ruined quite a bit of this. If you're still watching this, I do apologize for that, but I wanted to give my own little review on this. And the reason I ruined it is because as far as what I am going to be able to say about this movie line goes, is it's going to be an epic classic cult classic movie. It's got a very nice storyline set up. We just still haven't seen Rabbit or Kanga. And I have an odd feeling that Rabbit and Kanga are probably like the actual leaders of the pack. And the way that they ended number 2, there's definitely going to be a number 3. And that's where I'm going to actually start diving into this universe theory that we have going on. So, like I said earlier in the beginning of my stream here, Wes and the guy that plays Christopher Robin, who also created this universe, they gave us sneak previews into Bambi. Um, Bambi the Reckoning. And what they're doing with this is just making a horror uh universe out of our childhood, and it's really really nice. Um, see if this is like a little trailer of it. Wait, not quite what I thought it was gonna be. Um, trying to find the like a movie to or a trailer clip to show you guys, but so Bambi, I think, is gonna be more about like getting the revenge on the hunters that killed his mom. We also have a Pinocchio movie that's going to be coming out from these guys in the Pooniverse. And as far as the Pinocchio series goes, they did give us a little bit of details as far as the Pinocchio movie's going to go. So one of the things that I understand is so Pinocchio's made out of wood. If he lies, his nose grows. Correct? All right. So since his nose grows and everything, they're actually going to try to make his nose a weapon for this horror film. Another thing, too, that's a little creepy. I don't know if I agree that they told us this, but I'll tell you it as well because, well, they already told me. As far as the Pinocchio movie goes as well, we're going to see Pinocchio skin a boy alive. Maybe dead. But I'm going to guess alive just for the horror side of things, like the horror side of films. But Pinocchio's going to skin this guy, and he puts his skin on himself to make himself feel like a real boy. Now, if that's not crazy in itself, I don't know what is. Um, another one that's going to be coming to the table as far as the universe goes as well is Tinkerbell. So they gave us a little bit of a glimpse into Tinkerbell as well. One of the main thing that I can tell you about Tinkerbell, I'm interested to know where they're going to go for the storyline, but you guys know the pixie dust that Tinkerbell puts on like the kids to make them fly to Never Never Land and helps Peter fly. Well, in this one, the pixie dust is heroin. That's what it's going to be about. And I'm going to guess it's going to be a horror film based off of drugs, which could also be very, very interesting. It could give many, many avenues for that film to be opened up, like many roads. Um, Again, I can't wait for what the Pooniverse has in store for us. I hope I didn't ruin too much of Blood and Honey 2 for you guys. Um, I honestly can't wait for number 3 to drop. I'm sure that they're going to be filming number 3 over the course of this year. It'll probably be dropping again at some point in at some point beginning next year. I am hoping though that we'll at least get maybe a Bambi or a Pinocchio later on this year. And if we do get those, I hope that they release those more around the Halloween time because, well, Halloween is the spooky season. And we all need to have a good little fright and scare in our life sometimes. Um as far as the series and everything's gonna go though, I've already said it multiple times in the stream. The Pooniverse, I believe, is going to go into the cult classic booklets. Just for the simple fact of they're playing around with our childhood. They're changing our childhood stories around for adults. And I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Um if you guys haven't already gave Blood and Honey a watch, so I know if you guys haven't watched number 1, you guys haven't watched number 2 yet. And since number 2 just dropped last night, if you didn't watch it last night, you probably haven't seen it yet, but I'd suggest it. And I hope you all have a great one. Again, I hope I haven't ruined too much of anything for you guys. And I hope to see more great content coming from Wes and the guy that plays Christopher Robin. And I'll talk to y'all later. I hope y'all have a great day. Don't work too hard if you got to go to work. If you guys are streamers like I am, have a great stream. Just make sure today is great. Seize the day. Until next time, Anthill 300 is out. Y'all have a great one.